think I found our leak. We got reported that we had a leak in our water system. It looks like one of our water heaters has finally gone out. I think it's this one. Yeah. Dripping. And that solves our problem. Now we have to solve the problem. Well, I've turned off the water, but this is the water heater dripping out. That's the rate that we were losing water. I always thought it was just the air conditioning condenser, but we haven't been running the air conditioning lately, so I guess that makes sense. Oh, got a project this weekend. First thing you need to do is get the water out. So we hooked up a garden hose here to the bottom. The spigot has a little thread for a standard screwdriver, so I use my BFS. This is my big freaking screwdriver, and it gets some torque on it. Came right open, no problems. I was concerned after 20 years that valve might not open. That would be a real problem. The other thing that you need to do when you start cranking on this, before you open that up, is you need to close the valve to the water supply. Let me get some lights on. This is our water valve right here. It's right up on the water supply line, and you just crank it so that it's perpendicular to the line. Usually that means that it's been turned off. All right, so we got two of these to do. I've already drained this one a little bit, but we'll get them all empty. These are about 150 pounds per unit, so you need to get all the water out as you can because it'll be hard to wrangle these. So I'm gonna get a little break, and then once all these are all done, we'll resume. Nice flow. Let's get this one empty and move on to the next one. All right, so now we're going to start disconnecting some of these pipes and hoses. I've already turned off the gas lines. Again, perpendicular to the flow means it's off, and I verified that they're off. And so we're going to start disconnecting the main line here. I had to replace this a couple years back, so this is relatively new. It's connected with shark bites back there, but this connector here is going to be pretty easy to take off because I've already had it off once. These, on the other hand, might be a challenge. They're a little crusty, and the base might have some corrosion that might make it snap off. It doesn't really matter because they're going to come out anyway, but I want to preserve this piece, this over-the-top piece, because we're going to connect the two back together the same way. Looks like it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. We have to get some new fittings, or maybe even buy a new bypass hose altogether. This one, on the other hand, this is the main line going out to the house. And you can see some leakage here. This is definitely going to have to be replaced with another shark bite. We'll see what we can do back in here. Everything in the house is PEX. So these copper connections have a PEX union. Look at that. Definitely going to want to replace that. Look at all that corrosion on there. So more tasks to complete. So anyway, here we go. Let's take it all apart. Yep, those are not going to come off. See, I've just been stripping the brass off. Hardly anything to bite on them anymore at all. But it's okay. We're going to cut this off, but we're going to make a new bypass. This goes from one tank to the other to give us a total of 100 gallons of hot water. This one over here, just too corroded. It is not going to move. I got a proper 1.125" wrench on this, and it's just not doing what it needs to do to get off. And I don't want to kill myself. I mean, as it is, I'm going to have to replace this because this union to the PEX is very badly corroded. So we are going to go ahead and cut these off, I think. It's not worth the effort trying to get them off proper. I'm going to go ahead and take these stacks off. They have kind of a union, makes them easy to slide off. You can see they move nicely. We just need to get them off right here, and they'll come off nice, and then we can get these gas lines off. I don't see a problem with those, not very corroded, and they use the dope on those threads, so those threads shouldn't be locked up at all. Won't have a problem with those. So one little thing you may want to do before you start disconnecting, aside from the pressure from the main line, you also have back pressure from lines that are above the water heater. So here's one I have that's definitely above the water heater. If you open it up, well, we're letting most of the air out. But what it's going to do is it's going to let the hot water come out, but it's going to let the air go back in, and that will send all the water back to the hot water heater, and then we can drain it out the bottom. Otherwise, if you disconnect it at the wall, all this back water that's sitting up in the walls, that'll all come rushing down through and make a big mess. So put the air in the lines. You can evacuate the lines after you start running the water back through. So it's better to have no water in the lines while you're jacking around down there. All right, we got this one loose, free of all the tubes and pipes. As I suspected, the gas came off without a problem. But our next step here is going to take a little bit of patience, and that is we need to take a little sponge, and we need to get all the water out of this this drip pan. This drip pan saved us a lot of money in property loss, because this sits directly over the master walk-in closet. We could lose all of our clothes, but this thing saved us. So we're going to show it some respect. Got to get it all cleaned up, and I don't want to destroy it when I pull this water heater out of the tray. So it's going to be a little tricky. But we need to get all this water out of here before we can proceed. That'll take a little while. Just soaking a sponge and putting it in the bucket. I'm not going to make you watch that. I mean, come on. That would be incredibly boring, wouldn't it? All right, so here's the old units out. You can see I was unable to get these disconnected, so I cut those off. We're going to replace those. I've already been shopping for all the parts that I need. We'll go over those in just a minute. But one of the things I want to go over is the stuff that you're going to reuse or replace. In this case, we're replacing these overflow with new units. I bought those at the hardware store. But we are going to replace, and we are going to reuse the section of pipe. It starts right about here. So when I cut it off, there's where we're going to put a little union here, and we'll just tie that in. We are going to reuse this adapter for the gas line. This goes to the yellow line that goes to the gas, and this goes into the unit. The new units just have a flat receiver here. We're just going to go ahead and take this plug out, clean up the threads a little, put some new dope on there so we get a good seal, and we'll put that back into the new one. What else is new? Oh, so through iterations, trying to get these out of the attic, second floor, that was a real pain in the ass. We had to adjust the way that we were handling them. And so I made some minor adjustments to my little hand truck here. This little archway with a 2x6 makes it so that when you don't have like a pivot point, when you put them on there, it's just sitting on the bottom, but it would be rocking on just like the center right here. So this makes it so you have a nice curved shape to grab the unit as it goes up, and you have a lot more control over it not falling off the dolly when you're going up and down the stairs. Yep, I said stairs. We'll go over that in just a minute. But here's the new unit. You can see nice shiny paint job. We don't want to scratch up or mar any of this, so we're going to use that hand truck to get that up the stairway. here's our new unit, and you can see this is where that adapter will go into the gas. So yeah, let's go over how the dolly works, and how we're using this to get up and down the attic stairway with the use of a winch. We have an electric winch in the attic that we're using to pull these up and down. You know, the other thing, they're the same unit, still 50 pounds or 50 gallons, but there's sediment and water that we just couldn't get all the water out of it. So these things are heavier than the new units. The new units are bone dry, and we don't have any issues with that. It's going to make them a little easier, I think, to wrangle up there. The other thing I wanted to mention is, you see I've taken the baffles out of the exhaust. When you're moving these around, you hear that kind of rattling noise. That rattling noise is this exhaust baffle that it just makes so much racket. So I took it out for moving. So when we're moving this one, it's not going to make so much racket, and I won't feel like I'm breaking it. But also, we don't have to worry about that falling out or getting in the way. So that'll make it easier for us to travel with these. We're getting them up with the hoist. So you can take that out. It's not glued in or it's, you know, soldered or anything. It's just free hanging. It's just a baffle. So it's real easy to pull it out and put it back in. All right, so here's my solution for getting this thing into the attic. You see we have one of these drop down stairs right here. And I've adjusted my hand truck with my little archway here to hold the water tank from sliding back and forth. And I replaced the front wheels with a little board that is an adequate width to run down the rail here on the stairs. And luckily, just out of happenstance, the wheels are wide enough to fit right on those rails. So that works pretty well, getting it going up there like that. So I'm going to put this on the on the tripod here, and I'll demonstrate how this works in a dry run, and then we'll go ahead and get a water heater on here and start running these things upstairs. All right, going up. Nothing but a thing. Like that, we have a water heater up on the second floor of our house. Which just seems like the stupidest design idea ever, but ergo, there it is. It's up here. But I want to take an opportunity while I have it up here just to kind of show you. I did have to make a little ramp at the top here just to kind of make the transition just a little bit easier. So just FYI, wasn't just as easy as, you know, replacing the wheels with a skid. But it did get up here and it's all good. So now we can move this over and get the second one on. One down and one to go. Let's go get that other one. All right, there we go. 2 soldiers standing erect and ready to be put into service. That was a really difficult task. Made a little easy with engineering and little ingenuity, but difficult nonetheless. I don't know why they would think to put a water heater on the second floor attic of a house. That just seems excessively difficult to manage. So we're going to get into plugging these in and getting them into service. But first, let's go over some of the apparatus that we used to get this thing up into the ceiling or up in the attic. All right, so this is my electric winch. I bought this at Harbor Freight a while back. I've used it to pull engines out of cars and lift heavy things. I think it's rated at 400 pounds for the double line and 220 pounds for the single line. We were well within the spec on this. We're in the single line. But just so you can see how I've got this configured, I have a metal bar goes across the eaves here, and the top of this hoist just slides into that metal bar. I put a clamp on it to keep it from sliding in, and cable pays out down here, lines up pretty close to center on the entrance, but that was the method that we used on that. Had to add a little bit of a ramp at the top just to get over those joists. And at one point I had to change the lift point so it had a good balance. So it took a few tries, but by the end of it all, we were pros. It's not that difficult if you know what you're doing. I didn't know what I was doing at first, but by the end, I had it worked out. Of course, you've seen my my adjustment to my hand jack here, the hand truck, dolly, or whatever you want to call it, and this little hook here, so it grabs the whole radius instead of letting it teeter. That made it a lot more stable for us to pull it up here. And then the little slide ramp, that helped out too. All right, so I'm going to go and grab all my goodies from my hardware store trip, and we'll get up here and set this thing up. We'll go through all the processes of how to hook up a water heater. All right, so this is our shopping list. It's kind of go through what we're replacing and what we're reusing, and all the parts that we need to make this work. All right, so if you recall, when we were taking out the old ones, they are connected in a sort of a series. They had these two 18-inch, and it says right on here, 18-inch lines that went from the hot out on the first one to the cold in on the second one. And these were fused, and they weren't coming out. And as it is, I mean, look at that. They need to be replaced anyway. So these, when they were originally installed, were just soldered together. He had bought two 18-inch pieces and soldered them together, and then clamped them down. That was the original installation. We couldn't reproduce that. So what we're doing here is a union. We have one 18-inch piece, which just very similar to the piece that would have been, store-bought purchased. It's the same piece that we have up there. Flexible copper. You don't want to bend it too much because you don't want to crimp it, but it does give you the ability to do a loop, right? And then this one has a fitting that connects to it. So this one here has two female fittings on it, and then we got one here with a male fitting, and then a female fitting at the end. So between the two of these, this is a 3/4 to 3/4 MIP FIP, and that's an 18-inch long. And then this one here is 3/4 inch FIP to FIP connector. So there you go. So we're going to combine these two together to replace that part. No soldering needed. So that's a good thing right there. So now you know what parts that we're using on that. The next thing that we got here is these lines right here. Now, if you see, this is the on the old pipe had a high pressure relief valve. Standing up, getting a little dizzy. This is the high pressure relief valve, and they have a screw in on the end here, and then a PVC pipe that went down to the drip tray. Actually, I think this went all the way out to the on the outside. So they were plumbed separate, and so there's two of these, right? Well, the new pipes, what we got for those, the thing about these is you can't just use regular PVC. You need to use the yellow. This stuff is rated at a higher temperature, and so obviously when you use different pipe, you're going to need different glue and different fittings. These new fittings, they don't have plastic threads. They have stainless steel threads, which I'm all in favor of stainless steel. That lasts forever. And so these are going to be what we're going to use to connect up there, and then we're just going to connect right into the old pipes with these bushings right here. We'll slide them right in place, little couplers. So that's for the high pressure. The last part is, I don't know if you recall earlier in the video when I was inspecting, this was the line that comes out of the second water heater, goes into the hot water system in the house, and it gets connected with PEX. And these old PEX connector, it's the way they used to do it. It's got a clamp on, and it's been working good up to this point, but it's starting to get a little corroded and nasty. And you can see even on this end, I don't know if I want to put that back into service. So I decided to go ahead and cut that off, and we're going to push this into service. This is oops, what do we got here? Okay, yeah, we got a PEX connector on this end and a plug holding, here we go, yeah, and a 3/4 inch fitting on this side. So this will go to the out nipple on the second water heater, and then this will be connected with a SharkBite to the PEX. So we need to make sure we cut that PEX nice and flat, and we don't have any kind of a burr, and we'll slide that baby on there. It'll be just Bob's your uncle. Those are really easy to deal with. So again, no solder, no special tools, all good to go. The last thing is we got some thread sealant. I got some goobers on it. Some pipe thread sealant for the gas lines, and we're gonna press these back into service. These were the ones that were in the original water heaters, and this is just an adapter that goes from the larger size down to the smaller size, and we'll press these back into service and get those up there, get our gas lines running. And that's our shopping list. Under $100. We had to buy some pool salt, so it was $104, but that's 3 bags of pool salt on that too. But I think this will be under $100 for this part of the project. So all I got to do now is reassemble and then go take a shower because I smell really bad. It's been hot, sweaty work up there in the attic. All right, let's get this thing going. All right, so working with PEX and SharkBites. This is not a good connection. You see I've got a burr here, and it's not really perpendicular. It's got a bit of a flange to it. So this was a hasty cutoff when I cut it off. But what I've got here is a brand new blade on my utility knife, and I'm going to cut this nice and flat and square and make sure there's no burrs. That is the absolute trick with SharkBites, to make sure that they get a good seal. You want to make sure that this flat surface is flat and perpendicular, and when you insert it, it can lay flat against the mating surface perfectly. And also, if it's off angle, then the actual teeth won't travel down as far as they need, because you'll touch before you get to the bottom. So having it perpendicular and no burrs, that's the important thing here. So I'm going to recut this edge, and then we'll put that thing on. Okay, I'm happy with that cut. Nice and flat. No hanging burrs. It's nice and smooth. That's going to work just right. All right, so we're going to put some of this thread sealant on these gas lines. This is it's a sealant, not a lubricant. So you want to put it on liberally, and then you want to slide these in. Here, let me take the cap off. All right, and we're going to screw these right in. Zoop, zoop. There you go. All right. See how that makes a bead around the edge? That will, it will actually not get, it won't dry up, but it's going to give us a good seal. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down with a wrench. And so this next little thing here, we're going to make a leak tester for the gas. I'm sure you can connect all the pipes you want, but until you know that it's not leaking, how are you going to feel good about it, right? So we're going to take some just soap. If you're on the other side of the pond, you might refer to it as fairy liquid. It's a thing. And we're just going to use all the rest of what's in this bottle, I think. Anyway, just going to make a solution that when it's sprayed on the connectors is adequate to make bubbles. Let's see what that looks like. All right, so let's see if we can get a good test. This is my analog for a gas line, but it has threads. I'm going to be able to spray a little bit of our solution on there, and if I loosen the threads a little, well, right now you can see there's no bubbles, but if I loosen the threads, you can see bubbles coming out. I think you get the point. So we don't want bubbles. Bubbles are a bad thing. That's the test. So here we are up here. You can see the gas line is off. I'm going to go ahead and put it on. We're going to squirt this. And I don't see any bubbles rising off of it. So I think we're good. These are just bubbles from the spray. Pretty good. All right, let's do the other one and move on. Yep, I think we're good. Let me check back side of this hose. Nope, nothing in there leaking. It's all good. All right, next step here is a little bit of PVC pipe fitting. This is the line here that's going to connect to the high pressure overflow. And you can see this has the blue stripe on it. That's the high heat PVC. And all we need to do is just make another line that will meet up to here and then put a coupler in there. The advantage is that this is very flexible, so we can move it up and down and marry it up. So that's not going to be very difficult at all. I don't even think I'm going to put that on the video. Just I'll record it once we get it done. There you go, all ready for a blowout. Got both of those connected. All right, last thing we need to do is connect these exhaust pipes to the chimney, which might be a little bit of a challenge. In this case, it doesn't look like it's lining up just right. There goes my battery. All right, let's get these exhaust pipes working. Time to light the fires. Push this down. Wait for 90 seconds. Press this 10 times. Oh, getting a little blue flashy thing. That means we're good. All right, let's set this to hot. There it goes. Cooking with gas, just like downtown. All right, let's wrap up this video. Okay, quick summary of the project. We removed 2 bad water heaters. These things lasted for 20 years. You can get them to last if you take good care of them, and you have to drain them periodically and keep the sediment down. But alas, they can't last forever. So here's the tools that we used on this project. Over here in this line, these are things that you probably have in your garage right now. Everybody has a BFH, a big freaking hammer. Here's some of that glue that we used for the PVC stuff. Crescent wrench. This is a 1 1/8. Put it in there. 1 1/8 combination wrench. It's a very large wrench. If you don't have that, you could probably just use like a pipe wrench or something. You did need a hacksaw for removing the existing PVC for the overflow. And I actually used the hacksaw to cut the line between the two because I couldn't disconnect those. Another crescent wrench. Sometimes you have to work one wrench against the other. This is my BFS, my big freaking screwdriver. This is really helpful for opening the petcock to let the water out once you got a hose on it. There's a pair of water pump pliers. These things are always helpful for just about everything. But if you have a really big bolt or something, and you can get a really good grip on it by setting it right to the right adjustment, so your hands are closer together when you're gripping on it. When we did the PEX, we used a utility knife with a brand new fresh blade on it, so that's really important. Make sure you get a good cut with that. Some of the more unique tools that you probably don't know. This is something you might have, but you can make just a little dishwashing soap inside of a spritzer bottle. I'm gonna have to clean this out because I stole it from my wife's ironing. I shouldn't say my wife. I stole it from the ironing area. So when I iron, I'll need to have some fresh water. There you go. I have this 440-pound remote controlled electric hoist. I've used this thing on a number of projects. It works really well. You just need to find a way to get it in a place where you can lift something up. And I use a large square piece of metal for that. I mount it in whatever attic hoist or attic joists that I can find. And also used a couple of ratchet straps. And then the thing that was really the showstopper was adaptations to my regular floor jack, my little hand jack. We made a little 2x6 receiver for it to hold the water heaters, and then we replaced the little wheels on the back with this little sled section here. So to remove all the old nasty water, we used a sponge and a bucket. And if you're like me, you got critters living up in your attic sometimes, so you should probably not touch that water with your hands, but use a plastic or rubber gloves. So that is the project. It took me quite a while. Pulling these down I did in one day, and putting the other ones up took me another day. So, you know, plan your weekend accordingly. You're not going to get it done overnight. This is one of those jobs where I do these things myself because I can. But this is one of those jobs where now that I know how much work it is, I would hire someone else to do this work. I mean, as long as it was less than $2,000 labor, I could easily have valued my labor at $2,000. If it's more than that, I just do it myself because it's fun. If you're not into the fun and sweat, and you don't have just some common tools, then, you know, hire someone out. But this is how I did it. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments. If you haven't already done so, please do subscribe. I do all kinds of stuff in the garage. This is just maintenance. But that's the fun stuff over here. We'll get back to that in some later videos. That's all I got. Cheers.